Let's get in a special panel that joins us live on Business Tonight. Montek Singh Ahluwalia, Deputy Chairman of the Planning Commission, joins in live from New Delhi. Swaminathan Iyer, Consulting Editor of ET Now, joins in live from Washington. And we've got Pramod Bhasin, Vice Chairman at Genpact, coming in with the IT industry perspective. Mr. Ahluwalia, to you first, because the first thing that Obama will have to worry about in his second stint is the fiscal cliff, which could potentially push US back into a recession. How concerned are you about this as far as the US is concerned? Given the whole acrimonious contest, it's not going to be easy for Obama to get Republicans on board.
I think it's quite premature to judge how these issues will be handled. I mean, the important thing, surely the fiscal cliff problem is something that has been a matter of global interest. I would say that the president's been elected with a very strong mandate, and he's also got a much stronger position now in the Senate than he had earlier. That would augur well for his ability to sort these problems out. So we wish him well in resolving these issues.
You know, Swami, with Obama now back in White House, it looks like the political status quo, Republicans in the US House, Democrats in the US Senate. You think the stalemate will continue? Will he find it difficult, perhaps, to get congressional approval early?
He will find it very difficult. I mean, this is a polarized country. There is a lot of bad blood going on. So yes, he will find it difficult, no doubt.
Okay, so he has his task cut out, but, you know, focus will also shift to handling of the fiscal cliff. What do you expect from here on? Do you expect a solution by as early as, say, December?
The fiscal cliff, I'm pretty sure, will be overcome. It makes sense politically for both sides to hold off till the very last minute, sometimes even after the last minute, because, you know, if you go over the cliff supposedly for 24 hours and then recover, that's okay too. So yes, we will get that kind of brinkmanship on this occasion, and I am sure on many others. And by now it's fully accepted that this is political theatre. I don't think anybody really sees it as a financial crisis. They aren't that dumb.
Pramod Bhasin, let's bring you in here. Swami is not losing sleep over fiscal cliff, but most global market participants are. People believe Obama will perhaps have a more realistic approach this time around. This is, after all, his second term, and he would want to leave his mark on not just the US economy, but also on global economy. What's your take?
I think he'll put it on a balanced track. I'm not sure if he'll put it on a growth track. I think the challenges he has may not allow him to put it back on as much of a growth track as he would like and as all of us would like. I don't envy him his job for the next 4 years. It's going to be tough to balance all the competing priorities and still leave his legacy intact as someone who really built America for the future.
Swami, comment on that. Pramod Bhasin says it's not going to be easy to put the US economy back on the growth track. What's your sense? Because, you know, 4 years back, the Democrats inherited a really weak economy and not much has changed.
The notion that, you know, politicians have lovely magic wands and, you know, with the right wand you get growth and with the wrong one you don't. I think this is fiction. It is done mostly by the state of entrepreneurship, innovation, things in the economy itself. What we do know from Rogoff and Reinhardt and other academics is that when you have a recession which coincides with a financial crisis, recovery from that is painful and slow. And that is what you're seeing. Would it have made very much difference if there had been McCain there rather than Obama? I don't think it would have made that much difference.
Fair point. But, you know, Swami, there is a compelling need to go in for spending cuts. What could a potential austerity drive in the US mean for other economies, especially for economies like India?
No, you know, the word spending cuts, I think if you look at the short and long-term issues, a lot of people would say that there is a long-term spending cut which is necessary in relation to the huge commitments that you see today. You have a situation where Medicare, Medicaid and Social Security are apparently going to go from 8% of GDP or so today to 20% in another 20-30 years. And clearly that has to be cut. Now that shouldn't be confused with whether or not you have a spending cut tomorrow. That's very different. I mean, there are people, Paul Krugman and others, who will say, let us, for the time being, actually spend more.
Mr. Ahluwalia, does Obama's return signal now that quantitative easing will remain the preferred fix for the American slowdown, like it was the first time round in his first tenure?
Well, I'm not competent to really pronounce on what the election implies for U.S. policy. I think normally that would be laid out by the President during his inauguration address. So I think at the moment we've simply heard his acceptance speech. Let's wait and see what the inauguration address holds out for policy in general.
Swami, what's your sense on that then? With Obama's return, it's clear that Fed's easy money policy will continue. Bernanke will have his full confidence. So does this mean that we continue to see phases of liquidity-fueled rallies?
In the foreseeable future, absolutely yes. I think Bernanke is determined to say, I did my level best. That, whatever else the politicians did, I made sure there was enough money out there.
Right.
He wants that to be written down in history. He's going to follow that to the end.
Right. Mr. Ahluwalia, the successive QEs have, inflated commodity prices, and with Obama likely to stay the course on quantitative easing, will it become harder, you think, for countries like ours to now manage inflation because higher commodity prices won't really augur well for India for sure?
I don't think that QE3 continuing at one pace rather than another will impinge significantly on India. I mean, let me say that the monetary policy that the US followed is widely credited with having sort of prevented a more severe recession. So I don't think that one should conclude from that it is the source of inflationary pressure. That is a problem. These are issues that I'm sure, first of all, the American administration, the new administration, which is President Obama's second administration, will give a much clearer idea of how they want to see these. And of course, the Federal Reserve, which is responsible for the monetary policy, will give its own ideas. I don't see any reason right now to start worrying about whether these policies will impinge negatively on India.
Okay, no cause for concern. Pramod Bhasin, let's shift focus away from the macros, away from the euphoria at one level as well, because tell us, pragmatically speaking, where does India stand with this re-election? Much of your colleagues in the IT industry say it's not too bad and that, he won't walk the talk on outsourcing. What's your sense?
I think it's uncertain, frankly, at this point in time. The compulsions of domestic politics are quite intense on President Obama, and have been in the past, as we've seen. His commentary has been negative in the past. So I think it is something that we should worry about. Of course, we'll see what he actually does. And it's quite possible that given that this is his last term, that he goes out and does things and changes his mind and becomes more practical. But I don't think this is a dead certainty, and I think we will have to watch and wait quite carefully. Issues such as visas, immigration, domestic policies will matter to us. I don't want to be negative about it, but I think to be euphoric about it would also be completely wrong. And I think we have to watch and see how this hand plays out.
We have to watch this closely. That's a fair point, Pramod Bhasin. Montek Singh Ahluwalia, comment on that. Because, even in his victory speech today, Obama spoke on tighter immigration laws. His campaign was vehemently against outsourcing. Do you think this was just political rhetoric, or do you believe Indian companies have something to worry about, like Pramod was referring to?
Well, I don't read this as implying any particular stance on this issue. It's mainly addressed at the American audience. We have to see in practice what does it actually boil down to. Every country implements policies in their best interests, and hopefully we'll be able to talk to the Americans, in case there is anything which does not seem to us to be appropriate from our point of view.
Mr. Bhasin, one has seen a drastic reduction in L1 visas. Do you expect more of that now to happen? Because even in his acceptance speech, you had Obama talking about tighter immigration laws. What more could he possibly do here, you think?
Well, I think the immigration laws, are more around illegal immigrants and manufacturing jobs and low-scale jobs to allow employment. So I'm not sure that has necessarily affected us. Clearly, L1 visas and things like that have become more difficult over time for us, certainly in the last couple of years. Can they become more difficult? I doubt it, because the crescendo of noise coming from clients and corporations in the US is now quite large, saying they're running short of skilled people. And we also have all responded in a variety of different ways by hiring more people in the US, by putting more offices onshore, etc. And I think that trend will continue. So he is accelerating a trend which I think we have all followed anyway to hedge our bets. So I don't think there's more he can do in that side. The main thing is around pressure. You know, the discussion around outsourcing makes everybody duck under the radar screen. It does make people, perhaps from time to time, clients, think about what they should or shouldn't do, particularly in constituencies which are affected by it. So it has a slight dampening effect, not huge, but it can have that effect.
Swami, Obama has, emphasized a lot against outsourcing. You think all of that was just election rhetoric, or do you actually see him taking any sort of decisive steps?
Oh, he's already done something. They have really tightened up on the visas that Indian software engineers get for coming to the USA. I mean, Infosys says that fully half of their applications for L1 visas have been denied. So there's no question that Obama has put a squeeze on Indian engineers coming here.
That's the point, isn't it? Montek Singh Ahluwalia, comment on that, because both Swami and Pramod Bhasin feel that it's not as easy as it seems. This election has been all about economy and jobs. Don't you expect him to deliver on his threat to actually penalize American companies that outsource? Because that is a business reality, and, India cannot run away from this.
I don't think that you should reduce the whole economic choices open to the US administration to a position on outsourcing. I think that's narrowing the focus a bit too much. Let's see what the new administration does in terms of policy. And if there are things in it which impinge negatively on us, the time to take action is when they've actually announced their policy. I mean, right now, the dominant thing is that, contrary to what many people thought, that you might get a very close election result, in which case there wouldn't be a clear mandate. You've got a president's been re-elected with a very clear mandate. Not just a presidential mandate, but he's got a much stronger position in the Senate. So I think we should now wait and see what he wants to do in his second term, and they will be announcing this in due course.
All right, you're pretty optimistic, Mr. Ahluwalia. Pramod Bhasin, I'll let you have the last word, because you do engage with some of the largest corporations in the US. Are they anxious at this stage? Are they rethinking their outsourcing strategy? Are they apprehensive, when it comes to outsourcing more jobs?
No, I don't see that at all, and I haven't seen it in the past either, because most of them have economic consideration and shareholders to deal with, and they are the ones they serve. And shareholders and economic considerations require you to make your company the most efficient you can. And so that I've never seen a challenge. However, I really believe that manufacturing will be more impacted than services, because I have heard enough commentary about people moving manufacturing jobs from, for instance, areas such as China back to the US. Why? Because China is not as cost competitive as it used to be. India, if it stops becoming cost competitive, and to us that's our danger. If we don't absolutely make sure we remain as competitive as we possibly can, then yes, there will be a point at which companies will start thinking about, well, why am I taking this work so far away? I've got political pressure at home. The costs aren't as compelling. So what else can I do, and how else can I do it? And I think that's a very important piece of the puzzle that India must never forget.
All right, gentlemen, thanks so much for speaking with us this evening. Swaminathan Iyer, Montek Singh Ahluwalia and Pramod Bhasin coming in really on what has been the big story around the globe today.